What's up, guys? You got questions and I got answers. It's been about 3.5 months-ish since I've did this initial install. There was a lot of questions and I try to compartmentalize them in a few different sections. Questions about the installation, the durability, interaction with water, cleaning them, why I chose them, and how much it costs. So let's talk about the installation. There's a lot of questions asking, where could you install these tiles? You can install these in a garage, in a gym, a basement, and you can install these in a shed. I would say anywhere that you do not have to deal with direct sunlight. Would the floor be stronger if I were to install the tile in a staggered pattern? No, they're interlocking tiles and you can only install them one way. What's keeping the tiles from moving? This is a floating floor system. And just like any other floating floor system, once they connect, they become one. Everything become extremely heavy and the weight hold it down. Do I see these tiles popping up? No, they are interlocking tiles and they lock together very tight. Can you glue these tiles down? In a way, yes, you can do anything you want. I would not recommend gluing them down. If one of them get damaged and you choose to replace it, it'd be so much easier just digging that one up and popping in a new one. The other reason is these tiles are designed to have a system underneath that allow air to pass under the tiles. Assume if you put glue on the floor, you'd be blocking those passage. How will these hold up in the freezing weather? Well, this is not something I can relate to because we don't experience snow here in South Florida. I don't think the cold weather will change the property of the tiles. Can these work on an uneven floor? Yes, the tiles are flexible, so if you have an uneven floor, the tiles could take the shape of the floor. Two questions on the entry area to the garage. Does the door come down on the tile? No, there are different levels there and the garage door go much lower than the actual tile. So the slab in this garage is raised just above, and this is pretty typical for garages in this area. What was the reason for having the tile 1 inch back from the edge? Two things: to give the tile room to sit flat and prevent wear and tear on the edge. Now, next section, the durability of these tiles and how do they perform? What happens if I drop tools on the tile? I think it all depends on what tools you drop on the tile. Of course, if you drop some sort of metal object, you could possibly scratch the tile. What happens if you drop a dumbbell? If you have dumbbells with sharp corners and you drop it on the corner, you could scuff the tiles up. But a normal performance of just dropping dumbbells on it shouldn't be an issue. So how does it perform with rolling a workbench on it? So I personally don't like the way it rolled on this, but the positive side is you don't have to worry about your workbench rolling away because it's just sort of just stops on its own. Can you jack up a car on these tiles? Yes. One thing I would suggest is, because I want to protect the tiles, is if you have a piece of plywood, slide it under the jack, and then you can jack up your car. Okay, so can you weld or grind on these? Let's put it this way, these are PVC tiles that could be damaged by heat, and spark from welding and grinding will most definitely leave those spots in the tile. Now let's look at the tiles and see how it performs with direct heat. Are they easy to replace if damaged? If they are damaged, you can just take it up however you want. You can dig in between the tile and lift up the ones you want to replace. Will turning the steering wheel disturb the tile? Yes and no. If the car is moving, you can turn the steering wheel as you like. If the car is not moving and it's in a standstill position, I do not recommend you turning the wheel, because more than likely, if you turn the wheel, it's gonna turn the tiles. I haven't tried it, but I'm more than positive, and I'm not gonna try it. If that's a concern for you, if you're working on the car and you wanna be able to turn the wheels, I'll go out on a limb and say these are not the tiles you should install if you wanna do that specific thing. Just remember, it's a floating floor, so there are some drawbacks to that. Let's talk about this floor and water. How does this perform? Is it slippery when it's wet? No, you shouldn't have any issue with slipping or falling or anything like that. What about moisture between the concrete and the tile? These things do interlock with each other. They are quite tight. That's not to say that water won't penetrate the gap. However, these tiles are designed with a system that allow water to trickle down or pass through. I can't confirm how well it works. I pulled up 4 tiles and I did find moisture on one of them, and the day before it had rained. So I'm not totally sure because I'm not checking daily. The most important thing though, it's been 3 months and so far there's no odor in here. Keep in mind, I'm in Florida and it's raining season at the moment, so the car is getting wet almost every day. I blew it out a couple times, but in most cases I just leave it alone and let it evaporate. So what about cleaning and maintaining a new tile? One of the most asked questions was, how do you clean up sawdust from this? The broom do a pretty decent job. Can't call it great, but let's see how the vacuum do with this. So one thing we know is if you're cutting wood, you're gonna get wood everywhere. The dust I have in here is straight out of my vacuum cleaners. I'm gonna make a big mess. Is that mess big enough for you? So I'm gonna use my most trusted vacuum attachment. At this point, we know the broom's not gonna do a whole lot to get this thing cleaned. Does the vacuum suck up the tile? Guess it kind of depends on what you mean by that, but in this case, a vacuum will sort of lift it, but it won't pull up a tile, if that clarifies that question. How does this material hold up with spills from oil, paint, and stain? Let's go check. Can you mop the floor? Yes. This is what it looks like from the day I installed this without any cleaning. Just putting it out there. I'm not to be blamed if you get caught using the house mop. Although I do think you'll get a better result if you use a brush. As I mentioned, I think I'd do a better job if I used a brush, but not too bad for a quick pass over with a mop. So let's talk about why I chose the tiles for this floor. Ultimately, it was about installation time and process, and if I wanted to do it in one day, I could, or I can simply do it at my own pace. It also seemed like a simple solution and one that I couldn't screw up. Why not epoxy? I looked at epoxy, which is a more durable solution, and it requires a lot more prep work and wait time. Personally, I wasn't interested in the DIY paint style epoxy option for this space. Now, I did reach out to 3 local companies for a pro grade epoxy, and I got a few estimate ranging from $1,800 to $2,500, and I would need to give up the garage for at least 48 hours. And that meant I had to find somewhere to put everything in the garage, and I'd be without hot water for 48 hours. For this installation, I used 31 boxes of the Husky PVC tiles and 1 trim kit, which came out to around $1,500. Not cheap, but it was all about improving the space. And so far, I have no regrets. Now, I know I didn't answer every single question, but I hope this gave you a better understanding of this floor. And if you haven't watched the first video, be sure to check that one out. It's on the channel as well. I'll link it down below. But until next time, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.